Welcome to the Top 20 Video Game Music Show, blah, blah, blah. This is my second time recording it and second time for the people in the live stream chat to hear it. So this is The Facility from GoldenEye. Probably composed by Grant Kirkhope, but there was another fella who worked on that. Our first official pick on the show is from Spy Hunter, the reboot, released in probably 2001. This is the menu theme, but it's actually a homage or a sample or a cover of the original Spy theme by Peter Gunn. Or maybe it's actually the Peter Gunn theme song. I don't know. Composed by Dale Stump, Leonard Rankins, Aubrey Hodges, and Leonard Bedoian, chosen by Kris. Cool. So, I mean, the main point of the theme is the Peter Gunn bass line, and then they add some Spy stuff like that kind of clean electric guitar and those kind of chords, and the they got the big horns that I'm sure were in the original theme as well, and a real kind of early 2000s production of that gooey kind of trip hoppy early samples. Like so many songs from that time. The thing you notice about this track is the way it all seems to breathe in and out or stop starts during those brass parts. Oh yeah, sort of like bringing everything into the wow, wow, and then bring it down to wow, wow. Good point. Good ear. It's all about it plays to those dynamics really, really well. Yes, of course we're going to have some Metal Gear Solid. This is from the original third game in the series, released in the PS1 in 1998. This is Intruder 1. One of the Konami sound teams was on this, but two names we have here are Maki Kirioka and Kazuki Muraoka. Chosen by Claudio. That's so good, and it also brings back so many great memories of that game and the few times that I've played it, which is a lot for me. I don't tend to play games more than once, or movies, or TV shows. So, how beautiful is this? I love those sort of, they almost sound like, they're not plucked, but they're really shortly played high strings, da, 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 which just sounds like you're up against a wall, trying not to be seen, holding your breath. Da, da, It's the way they're so high in the way that they stop immediately once they're played. Almost like you're running forward and you're stopping before you're about to fall over a cliff. And then you got the really light percussion sounds, like almost like the percussion is trying to sound as quiet as possible, as if it's going, okay, what's the quietest thing we can do? It's actually shushing you in the percussion with some delay and some reverb on there to just make it sound a bit more, I guess, spacious. Which I don't know if that actually is more of a way to convey the environment that they're in, or if it makes it more sneaky, like it's farther away or something. I don't know. Maybe without the reverb, because without reverb, objects tend to sound closer to you, more intimate, whereas reverb creates a bit of a distance. Yeah, could be a warehouse thing, actually. Might be sneakier if it didn't have reverb, but it does kind of sounds like something small sneaking around something very large. The mouse and the elephant. Next up, although he couldn't make it with us on the stream, we're always thinking of him, and he does great things for this channel. Big Boss Steve selected this one. This is from Bravely Default Flying Fairy. The song is Infiltrating Hostile Territory, composed by Revo. Yeah, Big Boss Steve had mentioned when he submitted this that he had put it in before, but it didn't get its proper due, and I think he's absolutely right. This to me kind of sounds like two spies in love, and one of the spies is sneaking up on the other one and proposing sneakily, and then they sneak down the aisle together. It just gets, I think it's the bell, the tubular bell sound. Clang, which just, sounds like a church or a wedding or something. The bass riff. Do. I was teaching somebody some bass the other day, and I was telling them the thing with bass is when you stop the note really matters. You can't just let it ring, because it'll ring forever and it really stays with people. When you stop the note, it can have sometimes more of an impact than when you've started the note. And then this just builds into this fantastic. I just love that, the way the melody goes. I would have loved the drums to just hit those. But it matches the opening riff. Just that really laid back halftime with the rim shots. Oh, wow. Great pick, Steve. Our next one from a very well-known franchise, not necessarily in the game space, but Mission Impossible. Released on the PlayStation 1, again, back in 1998. Big year for spies. This is Station, composed by Rich Goldman, Mike Pummell, and Lalo Schifrin. Chosen by Rudi. Speaking of Halo, the hell? Jeez, slower. Wow. That was, what a journey we went on there. That's two ones we've heard with just epic arrangements. That did sound a lot like Halo, actually. Like when you first said that before it got even more Halo, you heard where they were going. This was composed by Rich Goldman, Mike Pummell, and Lalo Schifrin. So, I don't know. But yeah, it definitely sounds like Mr. O'Donnell of Halo fame might have played a bit of Mission Impossible. Made by Infogrames. You make games and you have the word Grames in your title. That's a bit weird, don't you think? Infogrames. Am I reading that right? This isn't like one of those Berenstain Bears. Infogrames. Uh-huh. These shitty fucking games back then. It was probably like, turn the camera with R1 and L1. Jump with triangle. And like they would record the voices, and they just sounded, oh, it's Donald Trump, and they just would sound so like compressed or just recorded in somebody's closet or something. What a quaint time. They charged you $90 of 1997 money to play N64 games. Pretty crazy. Anyway, the song is unbelievable. I mean, from the opening, that opening drum beat, it just, well, not that opening drum beat. The second opening drum beat, it just commits so hard. It's so heavy. It's so hard there. There's no variation. You could just see it on like big 1980s drums. Where'd it go? Gated drums and snare. Like that's when you have a noise gate on it to like cut it off harshly or start it. Sounding cut off. Where the sound doesn't open until it hears something. And like all that reverb and stuff, but like a tight reverb, gated reverb. Wow, what a track. I need to add that to my favorites. I did not think this was going to be good, considering I don't remember much of this game from that time. It was probably a piece of shit. Although it looks okay. But again, this always happens with video game music, is that, well, no matter how shitty the video game is, I think there's such a demand to be a game composer. And also, game composers have a far easier job. So my point was, if there's such a demand, then you tend to have like the very best doing these things, because people could choose from the very best. But also, making music is like, that's a proven thing, you know. Making a video game, almost every time you're kind of starting from scratch. You can try to copy things that came before you, but you're still building a parachute after you jump out of the plane, and you're hoping you make something that's going to get you to the ground safely, let alone excel. Yeah, because if you don't know the language when you're playing a game, you would just have to make it the story as it comes to you, just as you see it, and then eventually you're going to hear what it really is about, and it'll be like, you probably like your own better. I think playing Final Fantasy 1 without knowing the language, there's probably more story you created than is in the story of that original game. I could be wrong about that. We didn't have our usual amount of submitters this week, so I stepped in with a couple, and I'm always good for having some obvious ones. I think people here get very creative, and I just go into the obvious ones. But so that is going to be, I'm doing these slightly out of order, but who cares? I'm already this far in. It's time to swim. This is from Metal Gear Solid 2. This is Twilight Sniping. Another incredible bass riff. I can't believe how amazing that bass feels on the headphones. It's so warm, it's so present in the mix, but it's not muddy like a lot of times happen when you try to have too much bass. And it's not taking anything away from the other instruments when it comes in too. But I think it's because the instruments work around that bass riff, and they're just like high sounds, really tight sounds that just chop right through. And they also kind of have the bass call and responding with that bum, bum, and the which I love how Kris described that. What did you say? Not sure what instrument it is, but the primal sound is fitting for hunting prey. Absolutely. Great call. Classic 70s spy movie, says Solace. Yeah. And Rudi talking about the similar bass. What an amazing track. All right, there's a nice obvious one from me. Next up, from A Hat in Time, composed by Pascal, Michael Stiefel, and chosen by Longbow. This is Dead Bird Studio. Sounds nice. Wow. Oh my god. You know, you see this like cute little game and you don't expect it to go so hard. God, that was heavy. That big halftime, kind of like dubsteppy halftime almost. and just using the space and the funk to add a lot of weight to those hits. But right from the beginning, it sounds kind of like they went back and listened to all the Spy music, and they said, all right, we'll have the Metal Gear percussion, we have to have a bass riff, and then we'll even have the Metal Gear synth. It's actually very, very Metal Gear Solid. I wonder if that's what they were going for in this level. Ooh, some bells. Very sneaky. Next up, probably far less funky, but you never know, from Ni no Kuni 2. This is City of Hunger, composed by Joe Hisaishi, chosen by Kris. Funny how the beginning of this, once you come around to it, sounds so happy and innocent, whereas most of that track really sounded mischievous, more like you're sneaking, but the thing you're hiding is the truth. It's more about lying. It's about deception. It's about that melody of that, what was that, wind instrument? Just really sounds like somebody slinking around up to no good. Absolutely. Yeah, it could be a thief in some kind of a palace or like a royal setting, or I kind of think of India too with that kind of bustling sound. The area this plays in is all but deception. Well, good soundtracking. I mean, it being a Ni no Kuni game, you want to have the stealth section, but I guess that opening bit probably sets the framework of the environment. It's an RPG. It's probably like a big fancy little palace or some kind of a place, and then you get into the sneakiness. It gets dirty. Well, we can't go longer than 25 minutes without talking about Final Fantasy. So from number 8, released on the PS1 in 1999, this is Martial Law, composed by Nobuo Uematsu, chosen by Claudio. Yeah, that's an interesting point. Does this sound more detective than spy? And I would say so. It has all the hallmarks and a lot of the sounds of a spy theme. But there's more, it's like the way the melodies are being played. It's kind of like right on the beat and very sort of forthcoming. It's like, we don't have anything to hide here. We know that where we're walking, we can walk in the light or in the shadows. We're not hiding a thing. We can hold our heads up high. No guilty conscience here. But it's a detective, so they still have the mind of a thief. Like Denzel says, to be a wolf, you gotta only a wolf can catch a wolf. That was my Denzel trying not to sound racist in any way. So there you go. A detective is a wolf catching a wolf. I was happy to see an entry from this game on the list from Metal Gear 2, Solid Snake, which, God, for how primitive it was, being released on, it was on like the PC 98 engine, I think. One of the Japanese PC engines, pretty similar to, I guess, 8-bit or 16-bit, or maybe somewhere in between. Anyways, all the stuff we saw in Metal Gear Solid came from this game. Almost all of it. The crawling around, going underneath trucks, getting into the trucks. MSX2, that's what it was on. Thank you. And I was pretty blown away, actually, when I went back and played this and saw all those amazing elements. All they really did was just take everything from that game and put it into Metal Gear Solid in a 3D space, which is, of course, its own achievement. But this game was also incredibly ahead of its time, doing things that no other games were doing at all. So there's a nice preamble for you, released in 1990, this game. This track is Frequency 140.85, composed by Masahiro Ikariko and Mutsuhiko Izumi, Yuko Kurahashi, Tomoya Tomita, Kazuhiko Uehara, Yuji Takanouchi, Tsuyoshi Tsukito, and Mr. Inoue, chosen by Rudi. So that's probably the entire team, and one person would compose this one. Without any further ado. That totally kicks ass, doesn't it? That is a just bumping, huge riff. Nice hard-hitting synths. So much texture. I like the way that arpeggio just kind of sounds like it's hacking something, or like it's so precise the way it's moving around. That's where these things being able to be programmed in, you can very easily make them sound like computerish, and gives them that kind of precise clockwork type sound, you know? So cool. While we're calling out picks, this one's straying closer to Special Forces than Spy. See, while we're calling out picks, why was the last one of yours that got called out? Special Forces. For sure. It is, yeah, it is grittier. It is like, we're going in there with the big guns. We're going in there with a bulletproof vest. We're going in there. People will die. Good call. Next up, from GoldenEye. Again, this is Aztec Complex, composed by Grant Kirkhope, Graham Norgate, and Robin Beanland. Who did this track? We don't know, but it was chosen by Longbow. Well, like every spy thing before it, we're hearing a lot of the same kind of stuff. We're hearing a great bass riff, kind of like sneaky, slippery percussion, and long-held string notes that set the tone, and then some horns for the melody. This one is a little more in your face. To me, it almost sounds like a boss theme. Would be good for like a Kirby game boss or a stealth game boss. It's like big and thumping, but still really playful. The way that snare... almost Latin. It's almost like a bolero. Bésame, bésame mucho. Well, we got another GoldenEye one for you. This one's chosen by me. This is, like I say, I pick the obvious ones. And it doesn't get more obvious than this. This is the pause menu, composed by Grant Kirkhope for the N64 GoldenEye game. Not a long loop because you're not generally going to hear it too often, and kind of wants to get all its ideas across. That close hi-hat really sounded like a stopwatch or like the time run a bomb or something. It's so light and so precise. It's got the James Bond chord movement, which is the fifth of the chord, just being raised up one note at a time. Big reverby percussion thing. It's the James Bond start menu music. It's iconic. They nailed it. The vibraphone, giving it that 60s, 70s, slinky, jazzy, swarthy, suave feel. It was perfect. It just was the perfect sound of an elegant tuxedo wearing agent being lowered into the depths of a Russian bunker. We got more James Bond coming at you. This is from Tomorrow Never Dies, released on the PS1. Track is Detonate, composed by Tommy Tallarico. That's right, I made it. I'm a big-time composer. Chosen by Kris. Tommy Tallarico. Okay, all right. Now it's just turning into like a high school synth band covering the James Bond theme. Very, very late 90s, early 2000s sounding. That gooey sampled beat where it was just this weird mix of like drums and synths and bass. It was just on everything. And like Kris says, it's very dated, but that sounds really good. I mean, it's a really good version of this stuff. They did the best with what they had. It just has like a funny kind of dated sound. I mean, it could like very well be in the Matrix or Deus Ex. It's got such at the time a futuristic sound. There's a demand for it. It's good. There was, and I'm sure there's some demand for it. I don't know if there's a demand for it now, but there's definitely if you gave it to people, they'd go, okay, I'll take it. Our next track on the list, and welcome, Horky. Oh, sunroofs, brutal. They just cause mold and leaks. Sunroofs are only great in a car for the first, 5 years. Our next track, it's not James Bond. It's not Mission Impossible. It's not Splinter Cell. It's not even that stealth mission from a Zelda game. We're talking about Sonic Adventure 2. What the hell? Not Sly Cooper. This track is called I'm a Spy. In brackets, Security Hall. So I guess that's what Sonic says when he starts the level. I'm Sonic, and I'm a spy. More vibes. I guess that's going to keep on growing. Yeah, I like a spy on a cruise ship full of luxury and jokes. You got the spy vibes, you've got the kind of sneaky percussion, but way more of a Latin feel. The way that snare is on the 4 or the end of the 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, yeah. Well, now it's a bit more of a reggaeton feel, but a lot of them was having that snare kind of near the end. I don't know what's that from. Is that from salsa? Is that where they usually put their snare drum? Or is it like a meringue? It is. It's very suave. It's very in your face. Almost sleazy, but confident. It's a Latin man coming over to your wife and dancing her across the floor. And you'll never see her again. Adios. Well, we didn't get any Sly Cooper, but we did get Sly Spy Secret Agent. Look at... He just looks like a perfect blend of Elvis Presley and all of the James Bonds put together. A little more American looking, maybe, with a big, giant chin and jaw. Secret Agent. I like how it looks like... can you see my mouse? Here, where he's like... Almost like he's kicking this friggin' scuba diver as he's about to get into his car, kicking the scuba diver into a shark to kill it. And then touching this lady's knee. Then I'll see you later. In the room. Let's check it out. Sly Spy, Secret Agent, released in the Amiga in 1989. Composed by Tim Fallon and Jeff Fallon, the Fallon brothers. Wow, this is tune 2. All right, let's get ready for this. One channel start, baby. Whoa! You sons of bitches! Alright, we have to listen to that part again. So, it's just grooving the whole time. Great bass line, drums. I think it's probably the melody and the background stuff where you get that Fallen magic of what they do. Because, I mean, the Fallen brothers are famous for the sounds that they would get out of the NES. Somehow they found ways to like hack the bass and the drum to kind of have both at the same time. It's just like these huge sounds and like crazy arpeggiators and split sounds and stuff. I feel like this highlights their songwriting with not as many tricks, although I don't listen to a lot of Amiga music. But near the end there, it just sounds like it's just you've been listening to the same kind of groove and the same instrument doing this solo melody. And then all of a sudden it just kind of gets to the end and it goes, and you think it's just going to wiggle and then fade out. And then they bring in this sinister, crazy bass and add multiple layers of chords and then stop dead and then go into a totally different groove. So let's listen to that. It's like Castlevania! Oh my god. That was fucking weird. Oh, those guys are crazy. Yeah, very Baroque. Baroque my brain. Well, it can't be one of these shows if we don't have a track from Trails from Zero, which of course I knew that's what Zero no Kiseki stood for. This track is Geofront, composed by Saki Mamiyama. Chose my longbow. Sneaking into the 90s dance club. Wow. Rudy's got someone's information there. Classical musician here. All right, let's check it out. The song fascinated the fuck out of me. Said like a typical stuffy classical musician. The song fascinated the fuck out of me. I had no fucks left to give. Alright, hang on a second. It places emphasis on beat 2. Da, da. Yeah. With dotted 8th, 16th figure that defines as beats, okay? In typical piece of pop music, this is normal. However, this piece retains classical structure, placing emphasis on beats 1 and 3. Like 1. It's going to conflict with itself in a genius way. The classical structure is trying to pull back the song to more traditional 1, 3, 1, 3, and the melody is screaming 2 and. Wow. Ba-da. That's amazing. So, so what they're saying is, he's saying that the classic music is bumping on the 1 and the 3. So just like, boom, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Like you were kind of going, bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 ba-da-da. And then the modern of being more like, dum dum da da dum 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 da dum dum da 1 and 2 and 3 and a 4 and 2. So it's like on the 2 and the 4, it's like you're throwing yourself ahead, you know, like 1 and 2, 3 and a 4. Whereas the classic one is pulling it back with 1, 2, 3, 4, bum bum dum. That's a pretty cool analysis, and I didn't have to think of it. Thanks, Rudi. This next one was chosen by me, so I'm selfishly excited for it. From Metal Gear Solid #1, this is Warhead Storage, composed by Kazuki Muraoka, Maki Kirioka, Tappy, Rika Muranaka. Here we go. Yeah, this uses a lot of instrument cues. The snare drum, just a little bit of the snare drum, that military one. Like Kris says, it's not constant. The snare drum comes in every, maybe 8 bars or so. So, similar to Metal Gear Solid, there are not guards everywhere. There's guards kind of doing their routes, and they come across you. So it's like that snare drum, just enough, like when the soldier comes into your view. Big, heavy choirs with all that atmosphere. What I really love about this one is it has a really haunting chord progression. I never know what to call these ones, whether it's a chord progression or what do you call that stuff when counterpoint, when one's going up and one's coming down, but whatever. The notes that it chooses to go to and the story that it tells, like right there, the way that bass just kind of dropped. That's like really dramatic shifts, really large leaps, and maybe going outside of the scale and hearing an unexpected sound gives it that drama to it. And then just reverb and delay doused over almost every single instrument. And it's got that kind of skittering sound. Now, somebody in the chat said it perfectly. They said that it was more like a shoelace. What did they say? Instead of a water... This is Wispin said this. Instead of a water droplet sound, it has like a shoe twisting on the floor. Yeah, like... almost like you're hearing... basketball players on the court, like sneakers and shoes kind of stopping and making quick starts. It gives it that sound of a giant nuclear storage facility. Beautiful. It's just so epic. I think this track probably comes as Snake is realizing the true severity of the situation and it's unfolding, and it's kind of like you got this little light song on top of a really large, powerful bass underneath. And this is the onion that Snake is peeling over. Oh man, he doesn't have no idea of the plot twists coming his way for the next fucking 40 years of his life. 40? No, but in Metal Gear Solid 40 just looks older. 20, 30 years? Next up, from Project Nexus, that's right, this is Hidden. Cheshire Hidden. Chosen by Kris. Hidden. Oh boy. Unexpected. Goes hard. There's always a thing that ties all the songs together, or a lot of the songs together each week, and it's always an unexpected thing that ties them together. And I'd say that this week's unexpected tie is that these songs go surprisingly hard. Kind of melancholic in a way, taking your revenge on someone. Yeah, I could see, like, this is the reveal of, oh, that water you just drank? Well, it was poisoned. That's right, it was me. You wronged me 20 years ago. You probably don't even remember when, but I do. Before you even knew me. I orchestrated our meet cute. Our falling into friend love. The vacations. It's all led up to this. I've got you back. For not holding the door open for me at the bank. This song's amazing. It's almost like a kind of like a dubsteppy, super funky. Nice little bleeps and blops. It's cool because it kind of sounds like kind of what you thought video game music from the 8-bit era would grow into, you know? But didn't in a way. Sandstorm? Yeah. It's that really kind of dirty snare drum it's got that rolls on top of each other. Next up, from the great Chrono Cross, released on the PS1 in 1999, this is Snake Bone Room. Do with that what you will. Composed by Yasunori Mitsuda. Chosen by Claudio. Love this. This really sounds like it's using the Sony sound chip that comes with the hardware, whereas a lot of games at the time were using the advantage of having CD audio, so you could have anything you record put on there, but with the drawback of it having to load the music. Whereas Final Fantasy VII, even though it was designed to be as cutting edge and as visually impressive as possible, you'd think they would go with a big orchestra and put that onto the CD, but having so much CGI already increasing the game to 3 discs, and probably not wanting to fill up more with giant orchestra recordings, and also they wanted the ability to have the music to instantly turn on and off and not have a load when you're dealing with a lot of loading and stuff. So it's funny though, you know, I've played Final Fantasy VII so much now after the PS1 when it came out, so I never think of the loading. So this is Chrono Cross, also using the synths, but don't they sound a little bit remastered to you? Almost like they're still the original sounds, but maybe like somebody has the original sounds and then ran the song through it again? Because it just sounds so bloody clear and so good. Those strings sound so good. More like swiping documents in an office than infiltrating a top secret military. Yeah, well, like somebody said, Claudio said up there, it's just like sneaking to the fridge to get a snack, you know. It's very low stakes, but this is bloody beautiful, and those strings sound so amazing. Wow. Up next, our penultimate track. That means second to last. That's a word pretentious people like me use. From Cosmic Star Heroine. Have a look at that. It looks like VCR sync tracking on there. Released on the PC and PS4 in 2017. Oh, that old year. This is La Salle. Composed by Chris Guillen and Dan Byrne McCullough. Chosen by Rudi. Oh, sultry. Oh, not that Goldman. Yeah! Woo! Holy shit! I think this is this is what plays when the spy steals the fastest starship in the galaxy, and it's just taking off, getting away, being chased through hyperspace. Anime into the 80s night? Oh yeah, I could see that in like a cherry red Japanese-looking Corvette. Neo Tokyo. The lights strewing all around them. Wow! That is amazing. Wasn't expecting that. For our final track of the day, of the show, this is my choice, and I'm a basic bitch, so here we go.
What a thrill, with darkness and silence through the night. What a thrill, I'm searching and I'll melt into you. What a fear in my heart, but you're so supreme. I give my life, not for honor, but for you. In my time, there'll be no one else. Crime, it's the way I fly to you. I'm still in a dream, shaking up. Someday you go through the rain, and someday you'll feed.
All right, that opening minute and 20, probably one of the best video game themes of all time, one of the best James Bond themes of all time. Then it gets silly, and then when lyrics are in a video game song, it starts just describing elements of the game. Someday you'll go in the rain. That's right, we have weather effects. Someday you'll dine on a tree frog. It's like, all right, I get it. You'll use the cutting-edge stealth mechanics we designed. All right.
A tree frog, it's so dear trial to survive. For the day we see new light, I give my life, not for honor, but for you. In my time.
All right. What a fucking song. If you want to be a part of this, join our Discord and you can help us select the tracks. Thanks to everybody that picked tracks. Kris, Claudio, Steve, Rudi, Longbow. That was a lot of fun. Now we're going to watch the Nintendo Direct.